Good afternoon. So I've been out digging in the shed trying to find Holmes D&D. I got this from Wayne's Books a couple of years ago. I traded in some stuff, and in trade value, I got this. I also found this, and I covered this on my old channel a long time ago. This craziness. I had to get this. So I grew up playing Avalon Hills bookcase games, but they were sports games. Pay Dirt, Bowl Bound, Status Pro Baseball, Status Pro Basketball, Status Pro Football, right? They were all Sports Illustrated, Avalon Hill, a company, it could, partners. And, so this I got a couple of years ago when I ordered this stuff. I got Traveler 1982 edition, Black Book, the single Black Book. This, which is my favorite version of D&D. It's not the D&D that I played for 20 years. It's my favorite version since as an adult coming back and reading it. And I've talked about this before, so I won't spend a lot of time yammering on Holmes. But anyway, and then I thought, I got to bring this back in the house right again. So I went out in storage. This, the Dungeons and this D&D Holmes and Traveler were all packaged together. And I said, I got to bring this back in and look at it one more time. But the reason I was out digging through storage was I spoke to Brian, my local my local group, and Brian. We were trying to organize our next session, and they had asked me. I think I talked about this before. They'd asked me, last time I saw him, to run Simba. I ran Dark Age of Man for him, had a great time, and they talked about me running Simba. Well, it's been over a month and a half, 2 months. I don't know how many months it's been since I've seen him, and Brian had since purchased the Simba 5th edition books, and Brian runs 5th edition for his group. So he just went ahead and bought the Simba 5th edition books. And he's been running that for his folks, and they're pretty content with that being their Simba. So he was very kind. He said, what do you, we want to play. What do you want to do? And of course, they were open to Dark Age of Man, and I know they're a bit lukewarm on Dark Age of Man. I know they have a great time with it. I mean, because we're relaxed and it's just go. But I think they like the traditional type of game, right? The game where how can I say this? They like a traditional DM / party based game. And I can't deny I enjoy it as well. And I can't deny that's how I played for years and years and years and years. So with that being said, I said, well, there's only one game I wanted to get back to and play consistently. That is Holmes D&D. So again, I broke this out. Again, they were all together. And that's how come I was out there digging in storage. I needed to find this. And I do have an old PDF version too. And this will be the one we probably use at the table the most. However, it got somewhere in my storage. It got completely water damaged. And this is why I've had so much trouble keeping stuff from getting wrecked, is somewhere in my storage unit, stuff gets wet, gets wrecked. I don't know how this did, but this was not in a plastic container. This was in a cardboard box. So that cardboard box itself pretty ruined. Somewhere they got flooding or something. This was in a plastic container sealed up with Traveler and this Perils. And I don't know why I'm so concerned about keeping this. I mean, this just cracks me up. I would love to do a full review of this on the channel, because it boggles my mind. The absolute math craziness that is Powers and Perils. And the funny thing is, the art's pretty cool. If I remember right, the setting was pretty cool, but it's like calculus meets role playing. It's like somewhere in 19 whatever this was, 79, 80, 82, they said, you know what would be better than D&D? Something nobody can figure out. And Avalon Hill said, make it, go get it done. Well, Avalon Hill ended up bankrupt in the late 80s. So maybe this is why these kind of decisions, right? It's like the war game mentality for a role-playing game, right? But I don't mean war gaming like D&D war gaming. I mean like Squad Leader. Any of you who have played Panzer Leader or Squad Leader, the old Avalon Hill war games, which were unbelievable. I think the rule book for Squad Leader was like 100 pages long for the tabletop chip war game. Unbelievable. We played that as a kid. And but this I had never seen before. So I thought, what the heck? So I told him, listen, I'll bring Savage Worlds. They're not real excited about the World War II game. The Task Force Raven, they're, obviously I don't know much about it, and we're going to get to it hopefully. But I told them I could also run I could run a fantasy version using Savage Worlds, so I could break it in. Brian said, whatever, but they're not that interested in fantasy. If we're going to play this or Simba, and they're playing D&D or Simba Room, that, you know, they don't want to double up that. So I don't know. I may have to just break. And when I get the Task Force Raven book, we just may play a modern occult-based spec ops and just, you know, go right into Task Force Ravens. Probably what we're going to do. But it won't be for a campaign. It would be for them to get for me to enjoy the game and for them to get a vibe for Savage Worlds. So anyway, why do I love Holmes? Now, this is the game that I found in my brother's basement when I was 8 years old and hijacked and stole it. And we tried to decipher it when I was 8, 9 years old and play it. But then it was the big one. It was Moldvay came out, and that was it. And Moldvay and Mincer. I mean, Mincer came out in '83, but Moldvay and Mincer, the bastardization of those two games, basically is what we did for years and years and years and years and years. And this I had given away or lost or something and hadn't really seen it until about 12 years ago when I got the PDF. And immediately looked at it and said, holy cow. There's two things I love about this. All of the math in this book is contained in the D20. It's all contained in 3 levels, level 1, level 2, level 3, D20. Very, very cool. And so it's something I really want to run, and I want to run it with the conceit that level 3 is your max level, right? You're not going to go beyond level 3, which means dragon, the sense of a dragon being dangerous is always going to be true, right? Certain monsters in this, you're never going to be more powerful than, you're not going to hit them with a magic missile times 10. So the world would be relative. If you get to level 3, you're like maxed out. You are it in this version of the world, right? So now I've got to decide what setting. You know, I have my Island of Seoul setting that I did for White Box, fantastic medieval adventure game. I wrote that campaign setting for that. I have the Broadland setting that I wrote for Sword and Wizardry Continual Light. And we did do a little bit of Holmes with Steve and Harold and Brian with that Broadlands thing. But I have not run this version. I have not run and old school D&D game. And I mean literally, not OSR. I mean the game for Phil, Josh, Katie, and Brian, right? So that will be fun to put Phil. And I don't think Phil and Josh, Katie probably has seen some old school because Brian's pretty serious about his D&D lore and his D&D stuff, but he's never mentioned he's run anything. He's asked me to run stuff. So I think his wife probably hasn't seen anything like this either. And I know Phil and Josh have not. They've all been playing Pathfinder over the last few years and certainly D&D 5th edition. So it's going to be great fun. But I will probably, because I can't remember all the details of this. Let's open it. What the heck? I have nothing better to do. So it's in a box, which is interesting, right? The Avalon Hill, everything was a bookcase game, like my title bout. You'll see over there on the above my head there. That's title bout, which is Avalon Hill. Let me get it. So Avalon Hill made war games and sports games with Sports Illustrated that fit on the bookshelf. They were part of the bookshelf games. And this happens to be the boxing. Now, this is 1978, 1980. Actually, this was 70. This is 83. I ordered this from eBay last year or 2 years ago, unopened, mint. So yeah, I paid a pretty penny for this, but this is my favorite sports game from my childhood. But that's title bout. And so they made they try to make their sports games, you know, to jive with their war games. And this was their role-playing venture, I guess. I know there are guys out there in this community that have owned it, have played it, or at least understand it. I think there's an entire website devoted to it. I think there may be resources devoted to it. You can see I was trying to learn the game by creating a character. That's just the character. So this was my attempt at making a character before I brought this to Steve, Harold, and Brian. Let's see here. Matter of fact, this might have been, let me get my reading glasses. I think this might have been, I was making characters for them because I knew there was no way in hell I was going to get Harold to do this. No, this was Steve's character. So I was making characters for Steve, Harold, so let's see here. My God, how old is this? What's the date on this? Did I put a date on this? Oh man, I don't know. But I want you to look at this. Is just a first level character, right? There's all your attributes over here, right? And then I had to do the math. I had to get all that. I mean, look at this. This is just, and I have this strange feeling. There's something about it that just makes me go, man, this has got to be badass. Energy level, 38 points, right? Because food and eating and starvation is quite literally a thing you got to do, right? MDV, mana. Look at this. I mean, this is quite literally the most complicated role-playing game I have ever seen in my life, and I haven't seen a ton. But it's crazy. It's crazy. So let's see here. And then his equipment, right? We have buckler, quilted armor, sword. I mean, there's a lot about it that's very cool. So here's the math I had to do to, this is the worksheet I had to do. Look at all the math equations I had to do to figure out this game, right? I was doing division, long division. I'm telling you what, dude, can you imagine selling this today to young people? Can you imagine breaking in something like this? I mean, dude, I am doing long division, man, no calculator. This is old school, right? It's crazy. But there's something about it that's intriguing as hell. I'll never get Brian and the Katie and company to try this either. Well, they might try it, but I'm gonna have to make all the characters, and I'm gonna have to basically walk them through it. I don't know if I'd ever figure it out. I mean, look at the hit. So the hit is SB plus WSB minus AAV, right? A severe hit is SB plus WSB plus LE divided by 2, up, rounded up, minus AAV. Deadly hit, SB plus WSB plus EL minus AAV. Shield is SB plus WSB minus shield AV multiplier. Shield over shield is destroyed, 50% of AV minus 1 on shield. Subtract L weapon from D100 and add shield L to D100 roll. So these were like cheat sheet notes for me. Subtract L weapon from D100, add shield EL to D100 roll. Damage, add SB plus WSB, if any. Or severe hit, EL divided by 2, round up. Deadly hit, add EL. I'm telling you, it's crazy as hell. Why? I mean, they honestly thought, you know what people really want? D&D, they don't want Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition. That's too easy. That's just too lame. There's no depth there, right? They were thinking these people really want deep stuff. I don't know who their marketing PR guy was, but he messed it up. Right? So check out the books though. I mean, there was something I definitely had to have it because to me this is Powers Perils. So they're book 1, they're soft cover books. They're very, and again, I can't remember now, but if I remember right, even reading them, it was not written in such a way that was intuitive. And so I talked about this before, but I just can't. Every time I get it, I see it, I'm like, oh my God, I got to talk about this. So beginning note, Powers and Perils is a highly detailed fantasy system. Yeah, that's actually an understatement. Before playing, you should take some time to familiarize yourself with its rules, and then you'll never play it. Section 1.1, section 1.11, I've talked about this before. It's like it's like a tax, right? A natural musician under A, there's A, B, C, D, E, F, and then important in red, trained naturals, persons with intellectual, and so I've talked about this before, but it is like it's like a tax code book. It's exactly what it's like. Avalon Hill, Baltimore, Maryland, man, that was back in the day. They did make some brilliant, lots of brilliant games. This may be brilliant, but I don't know. And then, of course, you got the second book, book 2, the Combat and Magic. So there's a book just dedicated to combat and magic. This was a bad idea. This was a very bad idea. Dark maroon and black ink. What possessed them to do dark maroon and black ink? The only thing that is good about this is it's completely, and can you see the red ink on the dark maroon? It says optional. So I think anything in that unreadable text is optional text. Let's see. Let's hope it's optional, because if it was paramount, yeah. So subdual damage is optional, and so anything in the unreadable text box is optional. Thank God, right? So at least they put it. So they obviously did not want you to use it because they made it almost impossible to read. I just don't know who was in charge of. Yeah, optional. It's called. Here it is, page 35. Optional ensorcelments. Mana storage, intellect, communication, emotional constraints. That's also optional stuff. Unbelievable. And the art's actually pretty cool. Dig the art, man. It's got that art. It's got that. So that's all very classic, man. ECM is the artist. And then they got these, again, maroon/brown boxes. optional. Thank God they're all optional. And of course, I would not add anything optional to this game. So here's your combat table. Right? That's your combat table. Right? So let's see here. Baseline. Let's say my baseline is -9. Deadly hit is -10. Severe hit is -9.05. Yeah, you heard me right. Hit is 6 to 4. Shield hit is 15 to 26. Miss is 27 to 100. So obviously you're using die 100. You're modifying that die roll. And if it is a -10, it's a deadly hit. So it's probably not as complicated as this looks. But it goes up to +20 asterisks. It's just amazing. Amazing. Magic tables. Look at the magic table over here. Right? It's nuts, man. So that's book 2. And then book 3 is the creature book. Again, the art is very cool. Creature book. Let's see here. Let's find a creature. So here's a Basilisk. It's AHP8, S8, MR10. Oh my God. So appearance, the basilisk hatched from a serpent's egg. Yeah, pretty crazy. Again, a lot of optional brown boxes, which are not possible to read. And book 4, the book of human encounters and treasure. Human encounters, right? We need a book on just talking to humans. Humanity in the middle world holds a pivotal position of power. They are by far the most numerous, intelligent race of all races. They alone have the gift of totally free will. They can be what they will without the restrictions of their kind or nature. So this is obviously if you're making humans and classes, right? Following these basic rules, you will find a precisely detailed section of the rules governing encounters in major population centers. That's pretty cool. So we got civilized, barbarian, and wild. We have hunters, lost, major endeavor, adventurers, pilgrims. This is kind of cool. Animals. So everything's here, man, that you would need to run a remarkably deep and sophisticated fantasy world, right? And then we got book 5, County Mordara. That must be the country, right? It says county, not country. The pages that follow detail an important county in the nation of Donera. So this is the county, right? And again, this was hex. It has a map, hex map board, I believe, in it. No, it doesn't have a map. I could have sworn it had a map. You can see the old Avalon Hill parts list, catalog, the general, which was their newsletter. Very cool. And look at all these Wayne's books. This is awesome. If you want old games, or you want to trade in games and get trade credit, Wayne's books is amazing. Many of you know Wayne's books, of course. Look at the character sheet. So the character sheet looks, I mean, that's pretty sophisticated. I mean, we've got strength, stamina, dexterity, agility, intelligence, willpower, eloquence, empathy, constitution, and appearance. That has a native ability, a multiplier, a current ability, a maximum ability, and temporary modifiers. Magic, we have mana, magic defense, energy level, current energy level, magic path, orientation, magic experience level, casting ability, mana points used, mana regen. We have age, station, height, weight, influence chance, portage ability. Hot damn. So again, nothing is taken for granted in this. You're going to need, you need to port, unbelievable food requirements and poison resistance. Bonus table, combat factors or hit points value, damage taken, combat experience level. That's your CEL. Combat experience point, CEP. Off combat value, your offensive combat value, OCV. Your defensive combat value, DCV. Your movement rate, phase movement rate. 1, 2, 3, 4 phases, healing chance, damage tolerance, DTV, and dodge value. And then your equipment record, his item, price paid, weight, and location. And then at the bottom is the formula lab. Formula, excuse me. So it's commonly used formula. So all the formulas for your character sheet are at the bottom in this little box. And you can see how I was working out that math. Oh, wait, I did make Jonas. I don't know who Jonas is. I made Jonas. This might, oh my God, there's something on the back. Education record on the back of the character sheet. Spell record. Wow, so education record says skill, experience level, cost next level, partial expertise. Spell record says spell, base mana, casting cost, experience level. That's EL. EL is that experience level. Cost next level, partial experience, cast speed. The effects of success. That's pretty cool. So what does it do when it's successful? If by God you ever get to it. Personal contacts, armor record, and special abilities. So I don't know whose character this is. Jonas. I was making Steve's character, it looks like. Okay, Jonas. Here he is. So this was Jonas. I wonder if Steve's character was Jonas. Where's that other sheet I was working on? We never did play this. We talked about me making all the characters and just giving it a play for a lark. And I think Harold nixed it. I think Harold, because Harold was, I mean, he just flat hated this stuff, man. And so I think Harold probably nixed it. But Jonas is human, Mel. His combat experience, CEL, is 2. His combat experience points is 150. Age 17, station 3. That must be like his rank or class in the world. Height 5'9", 180 pounds. I had not done his food requirements or his portage ability or anything. Maybe that comes up in game. I don't know. Unbelievable. Where's the other sheet? I didn't have the sheets of this. Oh, here they are. So Jonas, was that Steve's? Garrow was Steve's character. So who's Jonas? So I had clearly made Garrow Steve's character. I was obviously in the middle of making Jonas, because that's Jonas. Steve's character's here. So it's got to be Harold's or somebody's. And I already put it, I already transported it to the sheet. So it does come with it came with a pad of character sheets, which is, this is one of the things Avalon Hill did so well. The boxing game has a pad of like 100 boxing score sheets, which is very cool. Crazy. I had to share it. The back of the box, artwork, and then sells all the sell stuff. The stuff that would sell this to you if you walked into the bookstore. Powers and Perils, you pull it off the shelf. The cave mouth yawns before you, a dark abyss bearing mute witness of the Stygian terrors that may lie just within. Intrepid, you approach the cavernous maw, pondering the fate of sulfuric stench that pervades the air. Yeah, I'm getting into it. Powers and Perils presents you with a new dimensions of role-playing excitement. It transports you from the drudgery of mundane existence to the cataclysmic worlds where the shadows live and the myriad of eldritch encounters await the valiant. Powers and Perils is a fantasy role-playing game in the finest sense, with the simple systems provided in partnership with the imagination. With Powers and Perils, you will create highly detailed characters that are dynamic in every way. Woo! But obviously, if you make something if it's this detailed, there's a lot of no's. GM's going to be saying a lot of no's to somebody, right? So what does this mean in a game like this? The more detailed we are, the more there's restrictions on what you can do, right? Because you're going to have to fall into that minutia of detail that allows you to build the fire, so to speak. Powers and Perils provides finely detailed creatures, magical effects of all descriptions and magic, both natural and learned. The game contains 4 rule books and an exciting scenario, County Madara. So that's a scenario book. Gee, many Christmas. The character record sheets and the dice that are required for play. There are no dice in the box. I don't think there were dice in the box when I got it either. I think die 10s is all you need. Suitable to play by 1 to 12 players. Oh, I'm going to have to play this solitaire. Number of players, Powers and Perils is suitable for play by 1 to 12 players. 5 to 7 is recommended, and a referee. Oh, 1 player and a referee. It is recommended ages 12 and up. Playing time unlimited. That's a positive. Baltimore, Maryland. You got to love this old stuff, right? You got to love how they presented stuff. You got to love, I mean, it's history, right? This is history. All the things you don't know, we take for granted in your PDFs, and your books, all the stuff. And I obviously tore out another character record, getting ready to transport Garrow over to yeah, I was probably going to plot Garrow in that character sheet. I did Jonas already, so I don't know where Jonas's workbook's at. Powers and Perils, book 5, book 4. No art on the back. Why waste art on the back of a book like that, right? And then book 1, book 2, magic. Jeez. So there's something about this I wish I could get my head around and try it. But you know, I don't know. I don't even know where my darn Wayne's books cards are. And get those out. Set those over here. Wayne probably is like, oh, thank God somebody took Powers and Peril out of my inventory. He was probably trying to sell this thing for decades. And I said, hey man, I want that with my trade credit. And he probably went, oh, hallelujah, right? Dungeons and Dragons. This is it. So long story short, they're playing Symbaroum 5th edition. So Brian's been running them in Symbaroum 5th edition. And he obviously convinced his wife that it wasn't so dark if he runs it in 5th edition. And I told him, you know, if you guys are concerned about it, the way I would run it, you need to look at our videos on the channel here, because it's dark, gritty, but we're not. It's not grotesque. I mean, we're not grotesque, and Symbaroum is not grotesque. But anyway, so he's leaving it open to me, and I got to tell you, it's not Dark Age of Man, right? Because of course I would love to play Dark Age of Man, but I know they're kind of lukewarm. We're going to run some homes, I think, but we'll see. You know, I've got till the 26th to figure this out. I was working on Task Force Raven. I've got the PDF. I've been reading Task Force Raven. I was trying to figure out how I'm going to transport what prep I did for the World War II German occupied France. And was starting to first get Task Force Raven down before I did any of that. I wasn't certain we were going to play it this next time we got together. The 26th is our tentative date for our next. And we generally go for a long time because I drive quite a ways. So I'll probably run this, and then maybe I'll talk him into some Joy of Dark Age of Man as either a primer to get us ready for some hex crawling dungeon adventure, or maybe afterwards we can do some Dark Age of Man just for a lighthearted romp through dinner time or something. But anyway, thank you for watching. I found this again in a box with Traveler, Dungeons and Dragons, and this, and I thought, oh, I got to bring this into the house and put it with my title bout right on the bookshelf games, and at least on the bookshelf behind me. See, if I was to build a studio here where I could do these talking head things, and you could see on my bookshelves all of my cool stuff, right? And you could see this Powers and Perils, and somebody be going, dude, he's sophisticated. He plays title bout and he plays Powers and Perils. Dude, this guy must be worth listening to. He must have all the answers. And I don't have any answers, zero. Anyway, thanks for watching. Goodbye.